In this video, I wanted to do a review of this space heater. It's called the Honeywell Motion Sensor Ceramic Convection Heater. Basically, it's a pretty affordable space heater from Honeywell. It's a popular model sold through Amazon and Walmart and other places like that. It's one of those models that is available under $100. I bought it for $70. Right now, it's closer to $100, and it sells out a lot. It's just a very popular model, has been for some time. I've used this specific unit for a year now, so I have some thoughts on it. Basically, this is a convection style, so a fan style heater. Has a fan in the back and it blows hot air over a heat element here. It's a standing unit that can oscillate, so it can tilt or rotate from side to side. It has tilt protection, so if it turns over, the unit will automatically turn off, which is an important feature for fire safety. And it has a motion sensor here, so if anything gets too close, the unit will also stop heating. That's good for kids, for pets. This unit also has a remote that's included. It has an instrument panel here with all the same features as the remote. So basically you have your power, on off, power, high low, oscillate, on off, your thermometer. So basically you could set the temperature at which the heat turns off, the motion sensor, and then you have a timer. That's basically saying we could run this continuously. That's not using the timer. Then you could have 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours. This doesn't support a daily timer, as in turn on at 8 a.m. and turn off at 3 p.m., something like that. That's not supported. It's not a radiator where it's going to do something like that. This is a 1500 watt space heater that plugs into a standard outlet, a standard 120 volt outlet. The 1500 watt number is basically the maximum supported by a standard outlet and normal amperage load. So we'll turn it on and start a demonstration. So it's powered on, and we'll have it on the low fan speed setting. That's how fast the fan is spinning and how much noise it produces. This is low. It also does high. Back to low. So it's relatively quiet. You could definitely have this on when you're doing some work or on a conference call, something like that. Not a problem. Here's the oscillation, either on or off. While that's spinning, you could see the full range of the oscillation, which is about 90 degrees. You could also see the motion sensor lights on the bottom. Right now I have the motion sensor mode is active, which means if something would get too close to this, it would sense it and the heat would turn off. The fan keeps going. So it's different than the tilt protection. What happens with the tilt protection is if this is unseated or tilts in any way, the unit will automatically completely turn off. That's so it doesn't fall over and keep continuously heating a spot of floor or rug or carpet and catch it on fire. So you can see this is on, it's heating. If I were to push it over, completely turns off. That's a important safety feature, and you don't want to buy a standing or tower style heater without one of them. When it goes back, the unit is still off. You got to make sure this switch right here is good, and sometimes you have to unplug it, and now it's back on. No problem there. If you just slide it a little bit, it's not a problem. Okay, so we will put this back on low, and we'll see at the top you have your thermometer. Now is where you set, or this is where you set the temperature at which you want the heat to turn off. The fan will keep spinning, it'll keep blowing air, but we'll say, hey, I want this to heat the room until the internal thermometer hits 69 degrees, then turn off. Right now the room is 62. When the room hits 70, this heating element will turn off. It has a motion sensor in it. So basically, if people are walking by this all the time, I'd recommend keeping the motion sensor on, but you could turn it off. That way the motion sensor won't turn off the heating element if something is close by. Again, that could be a dog walking by, a child, what have you. Generally want to keep that on. Here we have the timer. This means after 1 hour, this unit will turn itself off. 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours. Again, it can't set a schedule. It can't say turn on at 1 p.m. and turn off at 7 p.m. the next day or something like that. It'll just run for a set number of hours. If this is off, it'll run continuously. I recommend keeping this on. So if you go out for a cup of coffee or something like that and you forget this thing on, it'll turn itself off in an hour. Why do you want it to turn itself off? Well, first of all, you don't want to leave any heater like this unattended. They get very hot. Also, this thing uses a lot of power. 1,500 watts continuous is a significant amount of cost over time. Yeah, so basically, and you don't want anyone to get too close to this thing, but I found it to be safe, but it is very hot, so you don't want it to run unattended. Plus, a heater like this is best at heating a person, where a radiator is best at heating a room. So if there's no people present, you generally don't need this thing operating. That's why the fan is so effective. If you're cold, then you turn the heater on, you're instantly getting hot air on you. It'll warm you right up. Will it heat a space? Sure, it'll heat a small bedroom, an okay sized bedroom. I think it's good for about up to 400 square feet. So, maybe a 20 by 20 room, which is a good sized bedroom, but is not as effective or as efficient at heating a room as a radiator, which has a whole ton of oil in it, which is a lot of thermal mass, which stays hot even when the heating element is not on. This heating element is just a tiny little radiator piece in here. This whole unit weighs maybe 5 pounds, so the radiator is 3 pounds or something like that. So as soon as this thing turns off and there's no power running through it, this thing cools off and it's not keeping any heat heating the room. It's either on, it's heating you, or it's off. A radiator heats up more slowly, but it stays warm over time and it keeps the room warm. So not too much else to say. It's a really good heater if you are looking for a fan or convection style heater under the $100 price point. Again, I bought this a year ago. I've been using it for a year, not continuously with the summer and all, but been using it for a year. It's held up really well. It's good at heating people regardless of the size of the space, and it's okay at heating spaces as long as the room isn't too big or too tall. The room can be cold, doesn't make too much of a difference, even if it's an unheated garage or something like that, as long as you can keep this thing within, 6 or so feet of you. It'll have enough airflow to keep you and maybe another person warm if someone's sitting close to you. It does have a full remote, which is a really nice feature, especially for something in this price range. The remote has every function on the top. So power, oscillation, fan, high, low, your thermometer setting. You could even turn off the motion sensor using the remote, and then it has the timer control there. Remote has the battery included and all that. The main problem with the remote is there's no place to put it. There's no little holster here, and it won't really sit on top. This will tend to slide off. Looking at the rest of the hardware, you can see this thing, it's about 6 inches wide, about 30 some odd inches tall, maybe 32 inches tall, all black, all plastic, not particularly fancy. There is a filter on the back. This isn't a HEPA filter or anything like that. This is just gonna keep out, dust and pet hair and anything like that out of the hot stuff inside. There's a little handle right here in case you want to pick this up and move it from room to room. And then there is I think about a 6-foot power cord, standard outlet adapter, and 120 volt. That is I'll get the official name, the Honeywell Motion Sensor Ceramic Convection Heater. It's a pretty nice space heater, not fancy, doesn't look that great, but it gets the job done. It's really good at heating people. Not ideal for heating spaces. For that, check out my review of the DeLonghi Dragon oil-filled radiator. Thanks for watching.